the top of the Empire State Building.
Z100, New York.
Z100, Maxwell and Crystal live in studio. It's so great having someone in the flesh.
Yes.
How are you doing, Darren Criss?
Darren,
You
what's
guys
up,
are just
man?
saying that because we got Bay Area people in the
No,
house.
but that's also another vibe.
To that. We have actual high school rivals here. Our
right.
football teams, and you're in the San Francisco area.
Yeah, San Francisco area, and you're in the East Bay. But I think anybody listening that went to Catholic school knows that whole kind of like syndicate of, of rivalries between your local city. Like there's the Saint That and the Lady This's.
And ours were definitely it. Like as soon as you're like, wait, where in the Bay? I was like,
Yeah.
there.
Can
You
I
went
be
to high
honest?
school.
I felt like I had to be the moderator between like a
Tension.
gang war. You
We're
know what
on
I mean?
neutral ground. It's
All right.
okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
it's
We're
okay.
We're out of
We
war
made up.
zones here.
And it's the holidays, dude. There's no beef
It's
around the
holidays,
holidays. You know,
exactly.
come on now. It's the holidays.
Good
So-
segue, guys.
Yeah, so tomorrow, Darren, bro, you get to join us for something epic, man. And we want to start with, what did it feel like to get the call to be a part of the 95th annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, man? Something that we've all grown
Hang
up
on,
to
I didn't
love.
realize it was the 95th.
Yeah, it's a
You're
big
the first
one.
person making
This
this.
is huge.
Oh my god, that's incredible. I mean, that show is so much bigger than. I'll say this. The cool thing about making a Christmas album this whole year is, you know, the Christmas traditions involved in like promoting music or putting stuff out during the holidays.
Yeah.
Is one that's kind of like, for better or for worse, and I tend to think on the better because I think it's charming, is locked in a tradition that's been around since like the beginning of the 20th century.
For
one
sure.
of those being the
Which you're-
Macy's Day
yeah,
Parade.
which you're going to be
Right.
participating
And so
in.
getting to be a part of that, like, true, like, American tradition is amazing, man. Like, again, we grew up in the Bay Area, but it's like, yeah, of course I know the Macy's Day Parade. Like, you don't have to live in New York to understand its, like, cultural importance. So, of course, man, I'm beyond psyched. It's crazy. I can't believe I get to do it.
And I feel like it's a little extra special because last year it was virtual. Like there weren't
it
fans
was kind of- it was
outside.
like on pause.
It was on pause. But this year it's back.
People
We're
are
opening
out.
New York City.
And they'll be reminded how actually, because people are like, oh man, we couldn't be in person. But it's cold!
Yeah.
Brick City.
It wasn't any walk in the park.
It's my first.
It's a real commitment.
My first Thanksgiving in New York. Tell me how it's gonna be.
It's cold, but you know, it's you got your love to keep you warm kind of thing. You know, you get to be cozy and inside with people. I mean, ideally, you're not having Thanksgiving outside. I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
no,
not this
it
year.
would be frozen.
So, I mean, listen, fall in New York. I just said this when I flew in just a couple hours ago, and the first thing that you notice, especially this time of year, I mean, it's so gorgeous, right? Because it's not the frigid, you know, slushy snow in the streets. We're not over it quite yet. It's that beginning of the season where you're like, you breathe in the holidays and it's that chilly air.
You get the
in your
colors of the
nose.
trees.
It's great. As
you know.
Charles Dickens would say, piping for the blood to dance to.
Oh,
That's one of my favorite
We
quotes.
see that?
That's from
Go
Christmas
ahead.
Carol.
Love
it's
that.
Like just it's
Yeah.
like that chill that's not like, oh my god, I want to like lay down and give up. It's like, all right, let's go kind of chill.
Over the past year, you said you've been thick in the middle of creating a Christmas album, which is super, super awesome because we get a very Darren Crissmas.
Yes.
Has that pun been around the family for
You
years?
can't avoid it, man. I had two options. Like, I could either not call it that or just have to answer to every single person my entire life that went, hey man, you know it'd be a really good Christmas album.
No.
If you ever meet it, like hear me out. And I go, okay, cool, let me hear your original idea. So look, yeah, it's a painfully convenient pun that I would have been a fool not to capitalize on. But aside from the convenience of that title, it is a very apt description of this album because it's
you.
Very, very much me.
Original music,
And
man.
there's a lot of stuff that, you know, I consume a lot of, first of all, I consume a lot of music to like an academic degree. So
Yeah.
I've been watching and listening and observing the Christmas album thing for like 30 plus years. So
For sure.
I've always thought every year, okay, if I was to do this, how would I justify this? Well, I don't want to make it a surface value thing. I don't want it to look like a cash grab or just the silly one-off thing. It has to be something that is uniquely me. And so I think I managed to do that to some.
You're nailing it.
Absolutely.
But like that, so talking about the Bay, you know, like I was really putting myself in the headspace of a kid growing up in San Francisco, like foggy gray Christmases year after year. Like that is the experience and love and joy that is like baked into this album with a lot of songs people don't know.
All right.
That was kind of the goal. But like everything I do in my career, the idea was to take a bunch of things that you don't know and have them feel familiar. I do that across all things in my output.
Can I tell you, listening to a couple of the tracks, there was Christmas Dance that I took note of, and Drunk on Christmas. Now, just by the
and
title,
those are the two that I wrote, so I feel real cool about that.
So I love it because when you just read the title, you think like, yo, this about to be but there's some soul to these records,
story,
dude.
yeah.
Well, thank you. That's the idea.
You nailed it.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, like I said, I've consumed Christmas music my whole life because it is a genre. Make no mistake. It's not only a season, but it kind of abides by its own sonic conventions that for 11 months out of the year would not fly.
Visually, also.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a whole aesthetic that we really lean into, and so having an excuse to do, like carte blanche to do that for an album, is great, especially for a genrephile like me that enjoys getting to like embrace certain things that you just wouldn't be able to do. So with those original songs, which I'm glad you mentioned, like I've heard hundreds, if not thousands, of original Christmas songs, and you're always like, well, how can I carve a path that can stand out? And the only way to really do that is to just be yourself.
For sure.
Because obviously there's a set amount of Christmas, like cliched lyrics and ideas and puns and everything. So I just made 2 songs that were an homage to basically every Christmas song I've ever loved, stacked into like 2 neat little cupcakes.
Dude, love it.
We hear it, and what I loved that you said is that it's just this time of year that you can really celebrate it. But I love that you had your pre-sale album out like in October.
That's the name of the game, dog.
Going for it.
And Max and I were having that argument. I was like, I think in October it's okay to start pushing Christmas stuff.
You know what? I that's how you would notice it until you make a Christmas album. But like, think of any of your favorite artists, and if they're saying they're making a Christmas album, you'll know. Like, that's not unique to me. That wasn't some like crazy business coup of like, I know, I'll release it in October. It's like everybody does this because this stuff like I had to start like making this album this time last year.
Yeah.
Like, and I really started getting into it like January, like right after, because this stuff takes plan. Like, talk about Macy's Day Parade, all these like things and these placements. Like,
the
this doesn't just like happen.
Yeah.
You don't make an album in November and suddenly you can like this takes a lot of strategic planning. So when it first came out, I was like, I hope people can get behind this. But now now people are catching up.
Yeah, we're for it.
Somebody said the other day, because I showed up at a party, and this is a friend that knows that I've been working on this Christmas album, and he was playing it at a Friendsgiving party, and I was so thankful, and I was like, oh man, I'm just so thrilled that you guys are like where I've been at for this past year. And he's like, you know what you are? You're that guy that showed up really like way drunker than everybody else to the party, and like you've just been waiting for everybody else to catch up to you.
And now they're there, and it's a big party and celebration.
Yes, thank you for getting on my level.
Oh man. I want to go back a little bit because I read something interesting. We all went through this crazy pandemic-y world. Everything was on pause, man, and adapting to it and having to still work through trying to create in this weird space. You had, I took note of this. You said that you were actually taking the time to appreciate the things that you've done, because you maybe didn't get to do that as we were moving full speed throughout it all. So
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say the flip side to that is first of all, I'm always appreciating the things that I've done. I think it's hard not to, especially if you continue to get to do it. So when you're not continuing getting to do those things, you're like, man, I could really use those things that I was doing right about now, for a variety of reasons, personal, professional reasons. But yeah, of course, it gave everybody pause to really kind of look at the things that you do have, because I think for a lot of artists, our curse is constantly looking at what you don't have. So when looking at that void does you no good whatsoever, you have to derive some good out of looking at what you do have, and so that was a nice, polite reminder.
Would you say that your heart is happy knowing that you, like the rest of us, we were able to work our tails off, we were able to be persistent and to come out on the other side of what we had to deal with, and now, and to still be driven and you know what I mean, and to still be focused and to still be able to do the things that you love to do?
Yeah, man. I mean, I will say one of the great things about having all that time was stuff that actually had little to do with sort of personal, professional things, and more to do with all these like little bucket list things that I always kind of just mused at. Like, if people would always ask me like, "What's your dream vacation?" Darren, you're moving all the time, and I would jokingly say, I don't know, just like several months to just read, and like learn stuff,
chill.
Like, and my goal was by the end of this, like when I'm old and gray, And my grandkids are like, Grandpa Darren, what did you do during the Great Pause?
Are they're gonna call you Grandpa Darren? It's not
Maybe,
Papa.
yeah. Maybe. There'll be
Papa.
some new lingo at that
Yeah,
time.
right.
There'll be some word that we
Grampy.
can't even conceive of. Yeah, it'll be some
Grandpizzle,
dope.
for
Yeah,
shizzle.
grandpizzle. Yeah, that'll make you sound old. That's how they'll know you're a grandpa. They'll be like, what did you do? And I want to be like, yeah, well, I learned how to read, speak, and write Japanese.
Awesome.
Like, that's what I did. My wife and I hunkered down and did that. And, like, by no means are we, like, scholars, but
Yeah.
considering where we were from the start of it to now, it's like, these are things, like, who has time for that?
Yeah.
Nobody. So
Yeah.
we had the time, and we did it. And I feel really, really good about that. And just
That's
being
so
able to,
dope.
like, invigorate your brain with stuff that you're just, just don't get to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're so happy to see you doing stuff that you weren't able to do just a few months ago.
Yeah.
You're juggling a lot of projects right now, performing out here in the city.
Yeah, man.
What's going on?
Got a
Come on,
big
fam.
show in New York City at the Beacon Theater on the 20th, which I'm really excited
Like an
about.
iconic
'cause
venue.
It really is. It feels like a Christmas venue
Yes.
to me. It's something about, like, I don't know, uptown during the holidays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it's because of just a lifetime of romantic comedies during the winter that sort of take place around that area. But yeah, the Beacon is an iconic New York spot, and I think it's a very fitting venue for this very sort of traditional holiday album. Even though there's a lot of non-traditional things that happen in it, there's a sound that feels nostalgic, which again was kind of the goal. So we'll have a lot of fun guests, some people that you might know from the record, a lot
Okay.
of really cool local musicians that I'm obsessed with. It'll be a very me curated thing. And that's kind of my deal. Like, recording albums is always hard for me because I'm much more of, like, in person. This is why being here with you guys is
Yeah.
dope. Like, I like being in there in the room, the sort of transient experience if you had to be there is kind of my thing. But getting to do a Christmas show in New York is particularly special to me. Because it is the only show that we're doing.
I'm
for
getting
this
the
album.
goosies when just hearing you explain it. The romanticism that just knowing what that venue is, knowing how much it means to you to be in person, knowing what it means for the fans to be able to to participate, man.
Yeah, man.
The last time we had to participate was through a TV screen, man, singing Queen songs that we couldn't reach the high notes, bro. But now to be able to do it in real life, you know what I
real
mean?
life,
It's
yeah.
one of those moments that everyone's going to hold on to, and that this part of the year that families getting together for all the right reasons, and you are part of doing that for
Thanks, man.
for
That's the
families
goal.
for families that are going to take this moment and live with it for the rest of their lives, dude. So
I
congratulations.
certainly hope
on
so,
that.
man. I don't want to sound too crazy, but the nice thing about working on a holiday album, which is completely different than working on anything else, is that it is born from a ideally like positive,
Yes.
nostalgic place.
Understand. Yeah.
People will make like breakup albums or albums about going through adversity or even things that are positive. They are not experiences that happen every single year and for the most part are widely
Yeah.
associated with like joy and family and togetherness.
Yeah.
So while that sounds kind of cheesy and Hallmark, it's amazing what happens when you put yourself in that headspace all damn year.
Yeah.
All year.
Some
So you're
really
thinking
cool things
about
could
like
happen for you.
where you're from, what you're doing with your life, who you appreciate, who you love, the good moments in your life that you think about that all year when you're in the booth, when you're recording, when you're producing, when you're arranging, when you're curating, when you're mixing. That's all you're thinking about. So all of that sentiment is put into
Your life.
and that part of my life is baked into
Yeah.
this album. So hopefully, if any modicum of that is transferred to other people, then it will not have been in vain. So I appreciate you saying that because a part of that is getting to do it live for people.
It's
you know.
special, man.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is special. It really is cool. I would argue that this is probably one of the most, even though it's maybe like disguised as like a fun Christmas album for the holidays, it is arguably one of the most personal things
There
that
you
I've ever
go.
put out. It's crazy, because people go, "Oh, Christmas,
you.
whatever." It's like, no, it's me.
But it's you.
Yeah, thank
It's
you for
Yeah.
bringing that to us. I
Yeah.
mean,
Thank you.
something else that you popped out this year is a big announcement about your family.
Yeah,
Your
man.
family's growing.
Yeah, that's the ultimate collab.
There you go, for real.
The ultimate
How
drop.
excited are you?
The ultimate drop.
I'm pumped, man. It's I don't know what else to say.
You're just
pumped.
excited.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's fun
Congrats,
pumped.
dude.
Thank you very much.
It's so
Yes.
cool to see the joy in real life, and that is no pun intended, kinder joy. We're gonna see
Yes.
you ripping down, or not ripping down the middle of New York City, because
No, I'll be like sugar high Kinder,
There you
like
go.
chocolate.
We're gonna be
fuel.
going at a slow pace, but nonetheless, being a part of what we get to see you do tomorrow is gonna be so spectacular. Our first time there, being in the grandstands, watching it. To everyone that's gonna be tuned in
I've never
across
done
the
it,
globe,
never seen it
man.
in person.
Yes.
So this is the
Dog.
first.
It's
like,
a good way
This
to
is
do it.
so awesome, dude.
I know. I don't know how I'll be able to do it any other way. I've
Right,
never,
how you
like,
gonna top
watched it.
this?
Yeah, I'm gonna be on the float, so I don't know how I can go.
I don't think that. Yeah, you peaked, Darren.
This
I'm
is
sorry,
it.
man.
Yeah,
This
can't
is
wait to
it,
see you
guys.
there. You
This
have
is the moment.
You see-
to wave at us and shout us out when we're
We'll see you, dude.
rooting for you
I'll
up there.
have my queen wave.
Yes.
Have you Have you had practice?
I mean, I'm about to get however many hours of practice on a slow-moving vehicle
Yes!
down Manhattan, so I'll have all the practice I need.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by,
This is
taking
like so
time
cool.
for
I
us.
appreciate it. Yeah,
Thank you so much
appreciate
for
the
your
energy.
album that you're giving to everyone and sharing this holiday season. We really appreciate you and can't wait to see you on that float. It's going to be so cool to see
Thanks,
you up there.
guys. It means a lot to me.
A very
Happy holidays.
Darren Crissmas is here for us all to enjoy. One more time from in the studio. Round of
Hey,
applause
thanks, guys.
for none other than Darren
Thank
Criss.
you. Happy
Love you, bro.
holidays,
Happy
everybody.
holidays, man.
Yes.
From the top of the Empire State Building.